always live, chasing the truth where stories thrive. Wake up in the morning, it's time to report. 8 a.m. sharp, let's start the sport. From politics to pain, from the streets to the skies. Tune into my channel, don't you dare close your eyes. Journey down the rabbit hole, with Joe Canuck and Luke in control. Every twist and turn we dig for the gold, holding power accountable, brave and bold. Hey, don't get none on you, just stay awake. Join the ride with us for the truth's sake. Yeah. Join the ride with us for the truth's sake. So many events, so many shows. Wednesdays and Saturdays, that's how it goes. 7 p.m. hits and we're in your face. Breaking down the walls, taking up the space. From the shadows we rise into the light. Bringing you the news, sparking the fight. What's hidden from you, we're here to expose. With every report, our passion grows. Journey down the rabbit hole, with Joe Canuck and Luke in control. Every twist and turn we dig for the gold, holding power accountable, brave and bold. Hey, don't get none on you, just stay awake. Join the ride with us for the truth's sake. We ride like thunder across the airwaves. Revolutionary spirit, that's how we behave. Join our crew of seekers, we'll never be tamed. Digging deeper, not just chasing fame. In this crazy life, we stand and fight. The truth is our weapon, shining so bright. Through every struggle, we'll never fold. Join the journey, let the story unfold. Journey down the rabbit hole, with Joe Canuck and Luke in control. Every twist and turn we dig for the gold, holding power accountable, brave and bold. Hey, don't get none on you, just stay awake. Hey, join the ride with us for the truth's sake. So gear up, my friends, it's gonna be wild. With Joe Slick leading, you'll be beguiled. The truth is waiting, don't miss the call. Like Joe says, rise up, we'll break down the wall.
There it is. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's 7:03 here in the West. Yeah, lots going on, right? Nah, just some weather. It's cold here. What is it, spring? Spring hasn't sprung. Winter's come back. We had hail, we had rain, and now we have cold weather. I'm not ready for the hot weather yet, but how about some mediocre warm weather? I don't mind 70s and, that'll be all right. Anyway, good morning to you. Morning report here. We're dull rain coming later. It's raining here, but sure need it, she says. Yeah, there's a lot going on around the world. A lot of mixed signals happening in Iran right now. there is a. I want to put this over it and then just kill the audio. Okay, I did. Just to, to hear what this guy's saying here. Okay, here's a in Reading he did it. All right. Something's supposed to happen here. And on April 4th, 2007, in Redding, California, prophetic word that this that shall take place shall be the most unusual thing, a transfiguration of going into the marketplace, if you wish, into a news media where Time magazine will have no choice but to say what I want them to say, Newsweek what I want them to say, and The View what they want them to say. I heard that one before. The prophetic word, if you don't understand those things, that God didn't change. He is who he is. And I will raise Trump to become a trumpet to Bill Gates to open up the gate of financial realm for the church, says the Spirit of the living God. Come on. That's right. For God said, I will not forget 9/11. I will not forget what took place that day. And I will not forget the gatekeeper that watched over New York, who will once again stand and watch over this nation, says the Lord, the Spirit of God. And it shall come to pass that the man shall I place in the highest office shall go in whispering my name, but God said when he enters into office, he'll be shouting out the power of the Spirit, but I shall fill him with my Spirit when he goes into office, and there will be a praying man in the highest seat in your land. And another one, in the next 2 terms, there shall be a praying president, not a religious one, for I will fool the people, says the Lord. I will fool the people. Yes, I will. God says that the chosen one shall go in, and they shall say that he's got hot blood, for the Spirit of God says, yes, he may have hot blood. What's the second part here? This is all in 2007, when it was brought out. But he will bring the walls of protection on this country in a greater way, and the economy of this country shall change rapidly, says the Lord of hosts. God says, I will put at your helm for 2 terms a president that will pray, but will not be a praying president when he starts. Yeah. And I will put him in office, and then I will baptize him with the Holy Spirit and my power, says the Lord. So for those people who, want to speak evil of our leaders, be careful. There's a consequence. Yeah, Kim Clement. But that's just the vessel. Doesn't mean the Spirit of God was wrong. Some people you don't like him, but I was exposed to him many years ago, and I watched. What does he say on this one? In August 2015, in Camarillo, I shall do something that shall expose what is taking place in Iran, Iraq, and throughout the Middle East, but Iran specifically, While Iran is rapidly using mobile phone tracking to find and kill important Iranian military and nuclear figures, the IRGC affiliated Force news agency has reported that mobile phone tracking technology is being used to carry out assassinations inside Iran. The report added that even turning off mobile phones in meeting locations or residents can still reveal individuals' whereabouts. Yes, they can, everybody. Just because you unplug your phone and take the battery out doesn't mean they don't work. Israel is still striking everybody because they have the same technology or have developed technology. A lot going on in the last year about Iran, what's happening. You remember the pagers that all blew up because the batteries were, a certain frequency will blow up the batteries. That's the technology. So lots been happening. The world is changing, and you're not going to be able to, understand it all, but you can understand some things. But it hasn't caught God unaware. So I encourage you to, remain steadfast and have faith in the Lord that, you can't fool him. He knows the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end, because he's outside of time. And some people would, get a little wiggy about this kind of stuff, about prophetic words and stuff. Right here on our channel, I was doing their morning report, and I got a word that it kept coming to me because God wanted me to speak it. It was not a word I normally use. I actually had to look up what it meant because I'm a dingbat, and I don't have a college. I don't have a college degree, but I have a lot of college. And I've studied, and yet, the Lord loves it when you are childlike, let's say, where you don't assume too much of him and understand that, or assume that he won't act in ways that you think he won't act. So I'm speaking, and all of a sudden this word came up in my mind, I'm like, well, that's not what I was trying to say. But I knew, because I have experience at this, that God speaks that way to me. So I go, okay, well, hold on, everybody. And I stopped and this is posted on YouTube, both events. And when I said the word, there was a member or one of our family here who suffered 3 days with this event. And that person said, the word I had was conjunctivitis. That's the word. I don't even know what it means. Two things joining? I don't know. And I'm like, why am I hearing this word? So I told, Overline here. And I looked up the word, and it says, okay, well, it means pink eye. Well, then I said, well, this is something odd, everybody. Let me say, does anybody have pink eye? And nobody said yay. I said, well, that wasn't the word. It was conjunctivitis. And sure enough, bam, somebody said that's what it was, and that's what they had for 3 days. And so God speaks in ways that, in different ways. Now, there are those people who say they speak for God and they didn't necessarily speak for God. They can hear something but hear it wrong, or that's why you have to test it. And just because it happened one day doesn't mean it's going to happen another. You can only have one word your whole life, but that one word would affect one person, and that one person could affect another, which would affect 10 million. So, being obedient to what God's speaking through you or to you, you may not even know the fruits of it. It may take 10, 20, 30 years for it to happen, but if God can speak through a jackass like me, he can speak to you. And if nobody wants to speak, he can make the rocks speak out. And a lot of times that's what earthquakes are and the like. But so this word I spoke to this person, and I didn't know what was going on, and then the reason why God wanted to not only deliver, he allowed it to happen. One, he wanted to deliver her from the element, but he also wanted the rest of the word to be brought to her, and it's a her, of course, that I believe that just as I heard before, that she be given new vision in things and for things. And so there's a purpose behind a purpose behind a purpose. And so she's a handmaiden of the Lord, and she's really blessed, and she was delivered from it I think it was pretty instantly. And I mean, the next day she was gone. It was gone. And just be encouraged. So when somebody prophetically speaks, that's what they're doing. It's really saying, I'm hearing the Lord say this. I have no attachment to it, but this is what I'm hearing. And we're to test the word, to test the spirit. So in 2007, an individual that we just spoke said that there will be a guy named Trump, and he'll be a trumpeter, and he'll protect the nation, and he'll increase the economy, and he'll deal with Iran and Iraq, specifically Iran. And it's exactly what's been going on. This is from 2007. Sometimes it takes time to roll out. Sometimes it takes enough people to have faith in God and what he wants to do. Or, to orchestrate one word to be put in a position for another word to be fulfilled, and thereupon, further down the line. So sometimes a word doesn't take place right away. It takes a little bit of time. And from 2007 to 2015, 2016, when he decided to run, that's almost 10 years. And then Iran, well, shoot, that's another almost 10 years, right? 19 years to deal with Iran. Wow. But God put it in his heart to deal with Iran way, way many years ago, back in 1980. He saw what was going on, and God put it in his heart that I'm going to take care of that. And sure enough, that's what he's doing. Do you like the way he's doing it? I don't care. I just don't. Some people say we shouldn't be there. And I think anybody who's trying to get the bomb, especially group of people who have the ideology to destroy the world, because in destroying the world, they get 72 goats. I mean, it's like they're not tired of pumping each other. They want to pump goats. And they want to, their deity, who is a creation of manifestation in their own mindset of corruption, thinking that he has power. He only has power because you assume and assign him power that he really doesn't. And there's only one God. There's only one. And he's still speaking today as he did many years ago, many millennia ago. He's the same today, yesterday, and tomorrow. He doesn't live inside of time, but he can act inside of our time. That is, if he has an agent to do so. And you can have that relationship with God, and if you wish. If you don't, that's up to you. I don't care. It has no bearing on me. So that being said, I think what's happening in our world has not caught God unaware. And so I can have rest and peace in knowing that God's bigger than the situation. God's bigger than what I think is going to happen. And so I can have a certain measure of peace going, well, hey, it's out of my hands, man. And I'm just going to do what's right in front of me. And I encourage you to do the same. You know, if you want to get to know who the real God is, there's plenty of people on this channel that'll help you. Twitch.tv/Joe Slick Live, or you can see us over there on YouTube, and you can see some of our videos on Rumble as well. You can always reach us at JSLDiscussion@gmail. And I want to thank you for your subscriptions and your gratuities. And if we can help in any way, let us know. We're a good family over here, and we'll welcome you with open arms anyway. That being said, let's get into the morning report. We're having to do it a little bit early because of there's an odd occurrence that's taking place, and I'm trying to avoid that. I don't know what it is. I think it has to do something with OBS glitching. So we'll see with different versions of the OBS. There might be an open attack for that to take place. Windows updates, yeah. Yeah, and so be aware of that. Solar wind right now, 357 kilometers a second. Proton densities at 3.74. It's up just a little hair. We've only had B flares, nothing really spectacular. Minor G1 geomagnetic storms are possible on the 17th. When a co-rotating interaction region, CIR, is expected to hit Earth, CIRs are transition zones between fast and slow-moving streams of solar wind, kind of like the trough between waves. Right? They contain shock waves and enhanced magnetic fields that often spark high-latitude auroras. All right? So be aware of that. That geomagnetic storms happen not just because of a blast from the sun, but solar wind streams. And I can show you what that looks like in right here. Need a space between those, Croatian dude, so that you'll be able to see it. Here we go. And then just, there we go. This is the solar wind right here. These are the proton particles here. Solar wind, you'll see this yellow and red. That's when we're going through a stream, right? So as we leave one stream, there's this vacuum, and then here's another stream of solar wind. it takes place here. It looks like a blast sideways view, right? Because the coronal hole is more on the top. So that's basically what happens. We should get up to near 700. Right now we're a little over 3, maybe almost 4. And as you see the date here, 15, today's a 15. And then by the 18th, it should be way up. And around the 17th, 18th, we have a little bump in protons per cubic centimeter. So that's just charged particles coming at us. Doesn't mean that's the end of the world or anything like that. So don't panic. Looking at solar wind right now from the magnetopause, you'll see standoff distance between 12 and 15. Proton densities between 3 and almost 4 and 2. Solar wind between 3 and 4 or 3.5. And then dynamic pressure stays kind of low, less than 1. And it stays, the BZ stays -4 up to a positive 2 or 3. What that means for some of you that don't, I mean, this is my opinion, so you can take it for what it is. Let's see, I'll draw the sun, right? I'll draw the sun, there we go. And then I'll draw the earth, right? It's not to scale, don't worry. We have the magnetopause there. And then, right, in the tail. I forget what I was doing. Brain fart. Here's the coronal hole right here. It's in the north, right? So looking at the real time here in the BZ, watching the BZ right here, and it's dropping now. It's -4. So that tells me that, and again, this is my opinion how it works, that energy, I'm going to do this color, or orange, here we go. Energy from the sun is, oops, sorry. And here's the midplane, right? Energy from the sun is emanating from this direction. All right. And when it hits our planet, it's more focused on the if it's in the BZ's in the south, then it's focused on this side. Oops. What the heck? There we go. It'd be focused on this side of our planet. So the southern hemisphere and below, because the magnetopause gets buffeted on this half. And if the BZ's in the north, I'll do this one. It's coming from that sector, so the more energy that it will be in the northern hemisphere. All right, just because it's more directed. That's kind of how I see the BZ work. So that being said, what does that mean to you and I? Well, when I look at earthquakes, I look at, if the BZ is in the south, I look on this hemisphere. If the BZ in the north, I look in that hemisphere for activity or an increase in activity. Whether it be, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, or 7s, 8s, it doesn't matter. It's just a more increase. And if I went to, probably be, look at this, looking at the EMSC, right? And you can see that. Let me move this over here. All right, so these are the current earthquakes right now in the last hour, okay? You can see it's kind of in the central. That's where most of the earthquakes happen anyway. And the BZ is kind of in the middle. And I just showed you that, the real time. It's kind of in the middle. The middle to me is 10 and 10. So negative 10 and positive 10, right? Sometimes it goes negative 27, and then I'm really looking in the south. So watching what's going on, I just go back an hour. We do have one up in the north, right? Primarily, I'm seeing right here on the equator. We have one in the south now. Another one in the south, another one in the south. Still in the central plain. A little larger earthquake in the center. Right? There's another in the north. Another one in the south. Seems like the south is really... There's another south and there's a north. Another south. And more south here. So looking at the real time, I can see in the red, which shows us the south, over this last period of time. Some activity on Wednesday, had some more in the north, and then it went back to the south. So strong in the north. I don't even know what time that would be. Here's 6 hours back. And there's a time frame between EMC website will be temporarily April 16th tomorrow. It'll be shut down for electrical safety stuff. There's in the north right there. Right. Well, also Europe is kind of the equator's like right here. Right. So could we consider Europe in the north? In North America, Europe, kind of. You know, there's north, but there is some activity in the south too. That's kind of how I see the BZ work. Whether you can see it or not, whether it's perfect or not, it just shows me a more concentration of energy. Like there's a concentration of energy on, you know, at the bewitching hour down here, and then again right now. And we can look at on our x-rays. Here's the bewitching hour. Not a whole lot's going on from the sun. It picks up a little bit, almost to a C. There's a B9. And then right now we're on the rise a little bit. So we'll see where that concentration is. And if we looked at, you know, right here. Where is it? Did I move it? I guess I did. Oh, it got erased. That's what happened. We'll just go like this. Keep it here. You can see it's in the south right now. I'll be watching more activity in the south. Also, I kind of look at the geomagnetic velocity here. Also, I look at the proton density, which are charged particles, helium and hydrogen being pummeled at our planet. You can see there's not a whole lot of pressure, so you know that because it's all blank. Red would see a little more pressure. So those particles affecting our planet. That's kind of why I look at the solar stuff primarily first to try to get a gauge of how active the sun is and how the Earth is responding to the sun electromagnetically. So I'm not seeing a whole lot. So the BZ, yeah, it's in play, but it's not in play a lot because it's only down to a -5. If it was like -20 or positive 20, then I would say, oh, okay, let's take a little closer look. Looking at the absorption, there's just nothing being absorbed. And the ground magnetics. That's something else I look at when I'm looking at the BZ and the sun and how, it's responding to our planet. And so I look at the overall. And this only shows me a little snippet from 11 to 1500 hours, which right now we're in the 1500 hour range, at the last 4 hours. And I'm not seeing a whole lot of magnetic stuff, a little bit in the south, a tiny bit up in the north, and it's all predicated upon where the sun is facing us right now. So if I wanted to say where the sun is, I think I've got it right. No. I gotta get organized again. So many links. I thought I could do it for you. Let me see my list here. Well, anyway, as the sun is moving across the equator, it's approaching Brazil at the 1500 hours, like right in here in Brazil. So that's where the concentration of energy right now is. And looking at all these factors, we see there's a little bit of magnetism in the southern plane and a little bit in the northern plane. The stronger a geomagnetic storm is, the more we're going to see this. The evidence of that as well is in the auroras. You can see the auroras, all right? All these things affect the weather. They affect earthquakes. They affect, because of the charged particles pummeling our planet, moving and bouncing the magnetopause and I already did that one there. And this one, you can see if the velocity of the wind, you can see this is a computer generated, right? You can see it bounces that magnetopause right there, right? You see it comes and goes, right? Remember, there's a bubble here in the front, a longer bubble in the back, a tail, and all that has to do with the way our Earth is responding. As the Earth is corkscrewing through space, the sun is the same, and we'll pick up on different particles. And the proton density stronger with a darker blue than less with white color. And you'll see when right now it's just a little bit of blue coming through. When it's really strong, all this white will disappear. And the white just says there's not a whole lot of stuff affecting our planet. Then this is the pressure, kind of like the pressure you use you take two magnets that are square, put them on your desk, or round, doesn't matter, and or square would be better. If the polarities are the same, they push back away from each other. If they're opposites, they attract. Just like this, the more particles that are opposite of what is primarily what the Earth is at that time, then we'll see a lot of activity happen. And when I look at all of these things and put them together, it's the larger system of how our Earth electromagnetically responds to other entities outside of our planet. Now, Jupiter can pull on us a little bit because it does have a pull. The sun is the greatest one, and it really affects our planet. So when I'm looking at and I'm not trying to predict earthquakes. All right. Put this one up here. These are sunspots, areas of activity these are stable, that have both positive and negative particles emanating from the sun. I can show you, images, charged particles, right? You can see how the sun is working there. and we can push play and let it download. It'll show you a little bit. Yeah, over Luke is saying, or Walleye King, he's saying that over a 10 on a positive or negative BZ, he starts to pay more attention. In the center, it's really not a lot of difference. So you can see these areas of activity around, like these big pulses. You can see it really on the side here. And if I change the color for you, you might see it a little bit better, right? You can see all these magnetically charged, kind of like wires off the sun. And periodically, these there'll be a filament which is a one of these things here that goes a long way, and one end will break free, and it will shoot stuff out at the planet or out into space. And if we're in that range, then it will affect us in a geomagnetic storm. Again, geomagnetic, right? Or corona storm. Looking at LASCO, these are 2 satellites. You see a bright spot here. You can see all the energy coming out of the sun, right? So looking like this, there's a little more energetic that's leaving the sun on this end. And you can see, and this is just a snippet in time, right? So looking at the LASCO 3, another satellite, looking back, you can see this was a big blast. It's on the back side of the planet or the sun pushing out. That shouldn't affect us. It might give us some solar wind, but I don't know how far, because we're looking at 2D. It's really difficult to see it. When we see the sun pop off with a CME, a coronal mass ejection, that's one of these filaments that are really charged particles, and massive amount, megatons of particles that are so small that get projected off the sun and affect our planet and other planets, even out to the end of our solar system. So all of these things take an effect. Now, some people have said that earthquakes can't be predicted, and I think they can't, in the sense that we don't know what stress levels are upon a fault. We can surmise, and we can kind of guesstimate that certain levels are of what they call Coulomb stress, which is pressure upon the rocks that when it gets to a certain level, it'll break, just like on every fault. Now, there are many layers, superficial, up high, or way down in the mantle, which there's no rocks. It's gobbledygook down there, Play-Doh, molten Play-Doh. Like, when you see a volcano going off, you see all that molten lava coming up. It's just like what's down there. Also, what's down there is very dense, pressured together landmass or crust that gets shoved down into the mantle as well. And parts of it melt off, part of it don't. It can actually be found down there. We've seen images down there, and interesting stuff to show that earthquakes happen deep. And so it's all part of a large system. So periodically we can say, yeah, I'm looking in this area of interest. I had an area of interest somewhere around San Francisco one week due to what was happening over in Indonesia and Tonga and Vanuatu or Vanuatu. And immediately when those quakes hit, I saw San Francisco kind of going off a little bit. I said, well, it seems there's a magnetic charge coming southwest to northeast. Yeah, make sure my wife is up. And that has transpired. Now, it took longer than I thought, but looking at this map, as I zoom out of California, the big earthquakes happened on this side of the map. And instantly we saw activity over here. Now, we also saw activity up in Canada, but, USGS doesn't help us. So looking at the Canadians, to give us a more full picture, you can see from up here, a couple large earthquakes, these orange ones, right? Up in the Yukon area, also a small smattering down here. Now, this is quite interesting that you have to take these and then looking at that, the missing places, go, hey, wait a minute. And then I will go, here's 30 days because those large earthquakes are there. You can see a series of earthquakes coming down, right? Or are they going up, right? The large earthquake here, here, and here. And then it seems that instantly, San Francisco was popping, and then we saw activity moving on up. A lot more activity is here, but, you have to look at right there. Excuse me. And I was just saying, electromagnetically, it looked like this region was starting to get a little active. Now, the only reason I said that was because it was like bang, bang when this one hit, and all of a sudden, bang, it hit right here. Out of all the places in the world, this hit, and this hit. Was it coincidence? What's this wave maybe that's pushing across? Is it on a lineament? Like yesterday's earthquake in Canada, right? Interesting, a 4.0 up there by Montreal. There is a St. Lawrence lineament that comes right across the United States. Look at this swarm and this swarm in here. Now they're drilling everywhere. But why are these things being popped? Here's the New Madrid fault in the New Madrid area. Here's Oklahoma. Here's Texas. I mean, why down here? It just appears that bang, 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 bang. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if there wasn't activity down here in Mexico. And then looking at Mexico is only going to give me a couple of days. We do have a lot of activity in southern Mexico, primarily through Veracruz and Oaxaca and Chiapas. We also have some off Guatemala. All these orange ones are 4s, by the way. A little dinger down here in Cabo San Lucas. And we do have the San Felipe Gap, or it's an area of activity that moves from San Felipe Point all the way through it to TJ and to San Diego. That has often occurred. However, the central part of Mexico doesn't appear it's happening. Well, if Canada is showing us that there's some activity moving down that lineament, and then we see in through North America moving down that lineament, also through here, because of the Ouachita Mountains and the way the Mississippi River Delta happened. We have Louisiana, we have southern, maybe something down here, Mazatlan or Cabo San Lucas, or on the northern part of the EPR, or the Cocos Plate up here. See, well, if there's activity being pushed here, Then, and look at the activity the last 30 days here. Well, the Texas liniment works itself right through there. Then we have some activity going right through here, triangulating in this region. And we say, okay, how the plate's moving. You know, that's what doing all this is about. We look at the plates over here and how the movement is. These are GPS movements, right? These are going that way. These are going that way. Activity pushing up. These are the plate boundaries. And you can see this one goes that way, and then this one goes that way, and that one goes that way, and this one goes that way at different rates. These help build up the Coulomb stress. So, throwing something else out here for you. Looking out west. And I'll put the dirty on. All right. These storms, how are they created? How come there's electricity involved? How come there's low pressure and high pressure involved? And the movement of them. That's all part of interaction with the sun. It's been telling us for years. We have big weather across the U.S. Also, the largest storm on the planet has just pummeled down here. I mean, seriously, it is a Category 5 right there, going over Guam. And it just, I haven't seen any reports of the damage yet, but this sucker just went over Saipan right here. And massive, just look at the wind gusts, right? $136, 120, right? 132, 130, 129, right? 140, right? Super incredible winds spinning around in a tight area. So I'm expecting that massive floods, massive wind damage, massive casualties probably, just because this was the largest storm on the planet, and there's not a whole lot anybody can do about it. Just devastating. Canuck, I talked or texted him. He phoned or texted back, and he came online, and he said he's unable to see at the moment. He can see distance. He can't see up close at the moment. Things are a little bit blurred. Even when he was typing, he was misspelling pretty radically. Worse than I misspell. So, that's pretty hard. But he thinks that he's going to have to wear glasses, which is okay. But they've corrected the problem. It's just going to take time to heal. And should be not a long time, but it should be pretty close. So, and thanks for the prayers and keeping him in your thoughts. And so he can hear us, and he knows we love him and the like. So thank you for your thoughts, 42 and Denise and Luke. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it is a good news. So again, the whole thing I'm trying to do is trying to give you a larger picture of why we look at the solar stuff, why we look at the Earth stuff, and not just, looking at the ground wondering, is it going to be an earthquake? Earthquakes don't happen in vacuums. They happen because of plate movement, which is constant, and you can see it's moving at 90 millimeters a year right here, 97 right here, 103 here, different time, different speeds, and also one plate going underneath another plate. It's always going in the direction of the teeth, right? The red ones are where one mass is moving one way, one mass is moving another, whatever direction these are. The green ones are side by side movement. The purples are being crunched together. Okay, so that's what this map tells us. All these little different things. And then when you get into the areas like on SoCal, obviously it's pretty darn complex, right? See, looking into SoCal or California at all. California, because we're in the States, you can see all the faults, right, that we know of, that are named and not named, right? Garlock Fault, White Wolf Fault, Owens Valley Fault, Panamint Valley Fault, Death Valley Fault, right? San Andreas, right? We got the Hayward Fault. So all these different faults. So when we start to see earthquakes, we say, okay, what's happening? Knowing the direction of the faults, the kind of faults, some are thrust faults where one gets pushed up on another, right? One piece of land gets pushed up on another land, right? Up and over, right? Thrust faults. Blind thrust faults means it's already underneath, erosion. We can't see the fault itself, that it's moving up and being pulled underneath because of erosion, the break. So strike slip faults, one's going this way, one's going this way. And if you got a fault plane, sometimes it's this, right? Sometimes it's this, where one piece of land falls down, regular fault, one is dropping, one's rising. Different kinds of faults. And it's just scientists trying to say, okay, this is what's going on in this area, and this is the kind of a movement that that area of the Pacific Plate and North American Plate crunch up on each other, where the San Andreas is, and that's why we look at those things. Other things that we also take a look at is not a whole lot of tsunamis right now, which is, earthquakes can move the water or the ocean up and down and create, massive amounts of water movement, onshore. Just getting in your bathtub, that's easy for you. You can see the way the water swashes back and forth, or in a pool, same kind of thing. And then we'll watch the buoys because of these possible earthquakes creating the tsunamis, and also rogue nations like China, hitting the buttons and looking for to communicate in ways that nobody would know. I figured it out. Maybe I'm not the only one. Anyway. Yeah, some of my things have been... I had an update and things got moved around. That's what it is. My buttons got all moved around. That's crazy. There's other areas. I'm gonna have to fix that. Wow. Other areas where right here. There we go. I don't know why that thing got taken off. The tremors. Why specifically something happened? These are yesterday's tremors. These are not earthquakes. But what's happening is grinding in the Pacific Northwest, or California, Oregon, Washington, and Canada, along a specific boundary, where that boundary would be right up here where it's the blue. So this is being pushed underneath North America. That's called a Cascade Range, which is a series of volcanoes that are out here. We watch volcanoes. We learn about the activity of these volcanoes. We can look at, let me see, at specific ones like Mount St. Helens, right? Everybody knows about Mount St. Helens. There are earthquakes that happen there daily, and even larger ones. And we also learn that sometimes rock falls or uplifting. We can look at the seismogram here. Vibrations happen, stronger vibrations, lower vibrations. You'll see earthquakes or rock falls that happen in here. Generally, we can see when storms may affect these sensors, and looking on the east, and then looking on the west, and then look on the east. Right, they look similar, but you can see a couple more anomalies here when it's less, and you can see it's very busy and then it's calmed down. And looking at the COD here, go to the west, and then looking at the west, looking at the dirty, we can see that there is a low pressure that has come through Washington area. And we can say, okay, quite possibly some of the high winds may be messing around with the sensors. So when we look at windy, looking on the west coast, we can see, okay, looking at wind speed, at certain levels, 10 meters above the ground, 850, we can see, which is about 5,000 feet up. You can see 20-mile-an-hour winds here and a lot faster winds here. So when that pattern moved through, whether or not when we're looking at the seismogram here, when this changed, could have been due to wind or a storm coming through. So taking all these little factors into play, we say, okay, gives us a larger picture of what's going on in our world, and that's what the morning report kind of does. And it kind of tries to, my goal is to try to give you an overall view of what my perspective is, and you probably can catch things too that are different than how I do it. But by analyzing all these different things, I hope to give you a larger picture of what's happening in your world. And we look at the historical data as well, and we try to say, okay, when this happens, we can see a pattern persist. So kind of like, let's say an earthquake happens here, and there are waves that emanate out, and then they affect North America. And when another earthquake happens out here, it affects North America in the same way or in a similar way. So when we have earthquakes that happen down in Mexico, we look along the plate boundary and say, okay, what happened when this took place? Well, this one kind of did this up here. Oh. And if you start seeing those patterns persist, then you can kind of say, all right, I'm not predicting an earthquake, but what I am doing is saying, this is an area of interest. I'm going to be watching this area, kind of being more alerted to something quite possibly could happen, rather than just waiting for something to happen that I don't know what can happen. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's just kind of taking the sun, the moon, of course, other planets, other entities out there in space, and seeing how it affects our planet electromagnetically, or meteors smashing at Earth, of course, comets zipping by and dropping droplets all over us like it's been doing for the last month or so, daytime and nighttime for that matter, and then our as our planet goes through that stream of particles left over by the comets. All of these together is kind of what we're trying to do here. And so when I say, again, it's missing. It's weird how certain things are now missing. They were there before. Like we just encountered an earthquake here at 3.5 in Maricopa County, California, that is. That's up by Calmness. It's not necessarily right where she lives. We say, okay, that's an interesting place for an earthquake. Looking at the faults in California. Right, that's down here. So right here in a Carrizozo plain, right? There's the Carrizozo plain. It's right next to the river right here. There's a Morales fault that could be affected. South Cayoma fault, right? Pretty powerful one there. There's the San Andreas, everybody. And little offshoots from the San Andreas. So if this earthquake's hitting here, we can see, well, there's pressure upon the South Cayuma fault, but where does that pressure come from? Well, the San Andreas is moving. This is all the Pacific plate. This is the North American plate. This is moving north. This is moving south-southwest. Some of it's doing due south, especially right out here. But what pressure is causing this? Well, then we just try to analyze what's going on. And that's an interesting fault right there, because there's no known fault at that spot, but there's one up here, and there's one down here, and there's the main one that goes through up here. So San Andreas, this is kind of a bone of contention. The largest earthquakes in California, 2 of them have happened right here and right here. And then the 1906 up here, right? And we had Ridgecrest happen. We have Landers and Hector Mine happen out here. We've had the Big Bear quake. We've had the Simi Valley quake, and we've had the Northridge quake, right? All happening here because of all this sliding in the movement of the Pacific plate and the North American plate banging up in each other. These little quakes here, this is a main fault that I'm aware of, and that's the San Jacinto fault. The other ones on this side where it says Marietta, these are the Elsinore fault. Both of these have different splays. Both of them are in sections. Both of them have continuity with each other, as well as the San Andreas, because it's all the San Andreas fault zone. Breaks when two things are grinding up on each other. You take a loaf of bread, you take two pieces out of the bread, slap two pieces down on the table, make them touch on the crust, and push them together and slide them opposite directions. You'll see the plate or the two pieces of bread break. I always say cookies, but now I said bread, right? Grind up each other, you'll see things break. And that's kind of what it means. The plate itself, the Pacific plate and the North American plate, you know, they could be the same size or they can be different. They can have strata, right? Especially the North American one, right? And we can, I can erase this portion of it. This edge of the Pacific plate bouncing up on North America, because it's moving in that direction and this is moving kind of in that direction. When they do grind up here, often what we see happening is just kind of an uplift, right? One is moving that direction, and one is moving in that direction, and one's moving in that direction. Maybe that'll make it easier for you to see. Here's the uplift, and you'll see one is moving in that direction, one's moving that direction. So you can see how if this is moving underneath, this will be kind of, you know, doing that, so to speak, to all the dirt or the crust that we live on, thrust faulting that occurs along the coast. So that's why we watch all these earthquakes, you know, that happen out here, because this is what's going on in the world around us. We still see some activity happening even today. A series of earthquakes from the that took place out here, moving in that kind of direction, a northeast to southwest direction. That could be because of pressure moving in that way. It's hard to really tell. It's along the Texas lineament, right, that moves this direction. The Walker Lane kind of breaks off and moves in the southern through the shear zone in California desert. But they all kind of meet right up here in up and around Tahoe. So in the last couple of days, we'll go do a search on 7 days, right? Right, there are 174 known quakes to take place just right there. It's kind of, wow, that's a lot in just 7 days, eh? You know, what's going on? Well, we don't really know, but we can see that it is kind of oriented in a certain direction, and down, and these are all 10 kilometers, half kilometer. You know, I'm looking at 2.5, 0.8. It's very superficial. The big earthquake happened, and it was only like 5 kilometers deep, maybe 2 or 3 miles deep. And this elevation already is, 4,500 feet. So again, looking in the strata, the way the different levels of parts of the land, right? different strata. This could be, granite. This could be more full of seashells, and then this can be ancient, compressed, other kind of rock, right? And then when we get an earthquake down here, it can push this right here more than it will push this and this. So we get different kinds of stuff that's happening out here. So whatever's being pushed at whatever direction, we can look at the largest earthquake. Was that it? Yeah, the 5.7. And this is what we call, this is definitely a strike slip. This is the direction of the break of all those plates, or all the movement of all those earthquakes. So more than likely, that's what's happening. Pressure is applied from the north, and tension from the west. So we would think it would be coming out of here, right? Or it would be coming this way. That'd be North America pressing up against that area. So zooming out, North America pressing up against that. That's the direction North America is moving. Pressing up against that direction. The friction is out here because the San Andreas, which is over here, is resisting the pressure of North America. And then we can say, okay, well, what's going on here? How did that happen? We can see the Wasatch, the end of things over here, and San Andreas on this. Say, well, we did see some activity come right here. We did see a couple of earthquakes out here, a couple of 4.8s, 5s. We know that Iceland is really growing, and so pressure moving that direction. And then we have also Alaska, all the subducting and pressure moving in there, adding to it. So it's really complicated, and watching the Caribbean plate move, moving up in that direction. That'd be North America pressing up against the Pacific plate. Interesting how you see a nice little line of earthquakes happening here. That to me suggests, that direction. But this earthquake sequence is from the north coming this way, or the resistance of all this because of what the movement of North America is. That's kind of how I see it. Hey, craziest girl 6667. How you doing? Where are you from? North America. That's kind of how I see things. And if you see things a little bit different, or if you have more to add to it, we can discuss that here too. So looking at a list of earthquakes, then, after the volcanoes. Let's check out the volcanoes first. Whoop. What the hell? That just came back. Okay. That wasn't there a minute ago. I'm going to have to fix that. Volcano news. Okay, in the news today, April 15th, 2026, Fuego, Simiru, Ibu, Dukono, Dempo, Reventador, Mayon, and Sangay. So Fuego is in Guatemala, Simiru's Indonesia, Java. Ibu and Dukono are in Halmahera. I don't remember where Dempo is, but Reventador is in Ecuador. Mayon and Sangay is in Ecuador, and Mayon is in the Philippines. I think Dempo is in the Philippines too. But Canloan, the Philippines, 9,000 feet, and I think it's that about 80 something. Yes, 7,900 feet. So still having a lot of activity in central Philippines. Dempo. I don't know where this one is. I don't remember. Doesn't come up very often. Reported at 22,000 feet at a Dempo. Wow, wow, wow. I think Indonesia? Let's go ahead and find out. Yeah, southern Sumatra. Yeah. 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 We did have some earthquakes right here happening in the past. 22,000 feet. How tall is this mountain? 10,000 feet. So it's popping almost 2 miles high. And GE. Yeah, American. Yeah. What? I don't know what the heck. Try this. Yeah, all my things got moved. Funny how updates happen, eh? So we're looking at Indonesia. Dempo's right here. Krakatau's area, we had some pretty good earthquakes happening around here. So, and Dempo acting up. Pretty strong there. Simiru right here. Yeah, is active. And then we have over here Ibu de Kono active. And then Canloan right here. Mayon volcano in the Philippines here. So that's kind of the orientation of what's going on. Semenkaya, no emissions detected. Here's Mayon in the Philippines. 9,000 is already that high. Simiru still erupting. Dakono, 7,000. It's been 7,000 for... It's a 3,600 foot mountain. So 7,000, subtract 3,600 from 7,000 because the elevation is always based on sea level. So 3/4 of a mile high. It's pretty pop, pretty good pop. And both Ibu and Dakono are both bonging away on that. Sangay, 21,000. That's a 17 and change over in Ecuador. Here in northern, right here. Here's Reventador. Here's Sangay. Both in the back arc of the volcanic arc here. Kind of interesting that both of these are active and none of these are active making the news. New user on Thunderbolt. How you doing? Your new user on Twitch, craziest girl. Yeah, I mean it's this is a podcast I do talking about earth science and how everything's kind of interrelated, and the system, the larger system, and just the pieces that we can piece together, showing how it's all interrelated. Little Toe B, 8,000 feet out of a 5,000 feet foot mountain, I should say. And look for the seahorse. Hey, where's the seahorse? Right there. Little Toe Low's over here, Little Toe B, or Laki, 5,500 foot mountain, and it's going to 8,000. Ibu, 7,000 again. And Wednesday here. Fuego, 15,000 out of Fuego. At 12,003, pretty common for going to 15 out of Fuego here in Guatemala. Fuego's right here. Pacaya, Fuego, and Santa Guido, Santa Maria complex, which popped in a VI3, like in the turn of the 20th century. And now Santa Guido's come in place of Santa Maria. So Santa Maria here, Santa Guido is another vent that is grown, and you can see how much it's, it blurbed up on itself, threw up on itself. So that's kind of what's going on there. Dempo, again, 25,000 feet, and back over here in Sumatra, Dempo right here. He's zooming down. Dempo is the highest stratovolcano in southern Sumatra province. Is adjacent to Bengkulu province. 7 craters are found around the summit. A 400 meter wide lake is found on the northwest of the crater. So we can look at the Wikipedia on Dempo and give you the height. 10,300 foot. So, yeah, 10,300 foot. And what's the explosion level to 25,000? So, yeah, it's giving off 15,000 foot pop, almost a 3 mile high pop out of Dempo, ash flow and the like. Sebankaya, 24,000 of a 19.8 there in the armpit of South America. Zooming back out. South America right up in here. The southern Peru, Sebankaya is right here. The armpit. The subducted zone right here, active movement here. Letting off that pressure. Lots of earthquakes happen down there too. Mayon, again, Central Philippines, and Reventador in Ecuador, and Simiru. Okay, that's it. So looking at the EMSC now. This is the European connection with how many earthquakes and what's going on around the world. You can see currently there's several along this western or eastern edge of the Pacific. But I'm going to go back about 12 hours and zoom out and then look at, real brief, name out the Magellan's way down there. A very rare earthquake, southern Chile. And I want to say we talked about that too, real recently. That was a 5 at 35 kilometers depth. Moving on up, you can see the motion of the earthquakes as I come in time that I don't call out. The little ones and then the bigger ones. 4.4 Caspian Sea, right? And then up here, Romania had a 3.3. So I look for the 4s because there's so much. Hindu Kush region, 4.4, 4.3, right up in there. And you can see that, okay. 4.0 in Valparaiso, Chile. So down here pops with a 5. Moving on up, we've got a 4. Here's a 4.2 offshore Coquimbo, Chile, moving on up even further. That would suggest that the Nazca plate, which is the plate that goes down here, that's below the Cocos. And where would that be? So if I looked at this and I did this, looking over in South America, this is the Nazca plate, this is the Cocos plate, the Northern Andes plate, Panamanian plate, right? The earthquake hit down here, went to there. 4 power moving on up this long blue line, which is a subduction zone. Most large earthquakes happen among those. One plate all going underneath the other plate as they travel in adjacent directions. All right. 5.7 off the coast of Costa Rica and moving on up, right? It's strengthened. Probably because of what's happening in the Caribbean. Again, that's California. All the activity happening out here, Puerto Rico and the DR. And then now in this section, which you follow the plate boundary over, we got this, plus the 4s moving up the coast. 5.7 Costa Rica. That's pretty strong quake there. That'll do a lot of damage. 4.4 Lagos, Chile. So down south again in Lagos, Chile. Nicaragua comes in with a 3. 4.4 Lagos again. So this quake has kicked off some activity down in southern Chile there. Salta, Argentina, a 3. So it is moving in that southern half there. Salta is in the northern half, though, of Argentina. 4.2 northwestern Iran. We also have the Kurils going 4.3. And in Mexico, we have a 3.6 and 3.5. Oaxaca and Michoacan, the coast, the western coast of Mexico. Michoacan, 3.4. 3.9, Oaxaca. 4.2 off of Camachaca, which is right up in here. That's the area of the 8.8 that took place. Fiji Islands, a deep 540 kilometers, 4.4. So within 1,000 miles, I'll be looking for somewhere south of a 5. So this whole region, to me, just got charged up as a 5. A shallow earthquake being a 5. Offshore Chiapas, Mexico, again, popping with a 4. Southern area of Mexico, really banging off with 4s. Philippine Island region with a 4.8. Where'd that one hit? Right up there by Mayon. We're 4 hours out. South Africa with a little 3.2. That's pretty interesting. Texas Liniment. Cook Strait, 3.2. New Zealand. Guerrero, Mexico. So Mexico is still banging. So being up to date, what do we see? We see a lot of happening in Chile, southern Chile to central Chile. We see Central America to southern Mexico popping with very little activity up in Alaska. We see Sumatra. We see a little tiny bit in Bali. We see Philippines active. We see New Zealand active, and we see up in Kamchatka. So that's pretty much it for the report this morning. We see Negros, Philippines, 3.9. Central Peru has a 3.7. 3.6 El Salvador. 3.2 Central California. And then Halmahera with a 2.7. And 3.7 Lombok, Indonesia, and Lombok 3.3. So 2 quick quakes in Lombok. Right here. Boom, boom. 2 quick ones. This area is known to have large earthquakes. Not a whole lot. Primarily they're up in here. But the Australian plate sliding underneath the maritime continent, dropping down, breaking off, and then how it breaks off into many different plates in that region. You can see the triple junction. We did have a 7.6 a couple years ago right there. And when we look at earthquakes, we always have to maintain that we're not in a what do you call it? Microwave fast, put things together world. Geology timelines are not Earth people timelines. So so that being said, I think we'll look at the storm index for you. A large swath of slight risk thunderstorms forecasted today from northern Texas all the way through the Ohio Valley. Be aware of that. Also, more weather moving into Minnesota and Idaho and parts of Oregon and Washington, and a little bit into Utah. So, big hugs, y'all. And remember, appreciate your tips, your gratuities, your subscriptions here at twitch.tv/JoeSligLive. Also, with a new person saying following us, new to Twitch, they're probably looking for a game, and this is a podcast. Craziest Girl 6667, nice to see you. Thanks for following. You can subscribe here on Twitch, and you can help out. Thanks to Timmy, Walleye King, and Susan. To our VIPs, 9.9, 42, Croatian Dude, Lake Girl 19, Denise in the UK, and Faith Takes You So Far. Thank you for other users like Kronk, See What's Happenings, and of course, Thunderbolt. And if I didn't call your names because you didn't want it to, I appreciate you. And 42 just kicked 42. Thanks, bud. Appreciate you. Yeah, that's fantastic. So, thanks for the help. We're running a little early nowadays because there seems to be some sort of time-oriented sound issue that is connected to either OBS or Twitch, and I'm not the only one that's encountering that. So we gotta do it right. And for those who are on YouTube, I appreciate you all. Thanks for following, and hit the bell button so you get notified. I'm going to post this morning report up there, and we'll continue with the morning show here in momentarily. You can find us over on twitch.tv/Joe Slick Live. Remember, don't get none on you. So I'll be right back.